So everyone, I'm happy to go on for. I'm saying it's not long, but in terms of what I've got presented, and I like to keep the recordings kind of shortish so people might listen to them. But please, 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 I know you also have places to be and children and stuff to look after. But if there are questions, like let's use this time to please like discuss them. Like I really speak to you so seldomly. So just in terms of where we're at, um, so. Yeah, so just in terms of where we're at, so this is like the week, and so I mean, I know last week I think some of you had some, not last week, the week before, our previous session, I think there was a conflict here with another, you had some session running. I don't know if it was a tech or some support session. But the slides that I used are up. The recording is up. It's this big bunch of slides here. It's the same one that just continued. So just to give you an idea of where we're at. And so this is what we're supposed to talk about today, which is still kind of a continuation of the same theme, the roles of educators and then teacher competencies. So I did touch on it last time the last recording, which is also on ARC, literally kind of these basic competencies and the roles of teachers. And so there's not much to over explain here, but I think to make it interesting, what I wanted to do with this evening was I don't like tying things to the assignments and to the assessments because then it feels like you're like teaching to that thing. But the reality of your qualification is that you only see me so often, lots of self-study. And so the idea is like, how do I mesh these two together? And I think that I really do like some of these assessments because it does bring everything together. And so, as I said in that message, I wanted to bring up the actual, I know you still have to do task two. I know that's still coming. You're not at the final POE yet. But I guess the idea with this POE is that you kind of, like this topic that we're dealing with now, I'm not going to deal with in 3 weeks' time or in 4 weeks' time before you submit the POE. But it is a big part of the POE, which is the section on the roles and competencies of teachers. So what I was thinking of doing was kind of talking to the roles and competencies, kind of in relation to the assignment. Look, there will be, or to the POE, there will be another recording. So the module, like what we call the module leader. So in this case, it's Miss Van Blair, Evelyn. So she will put together like a talk you through the POE recording, which we will post, and she'll go through kind of the details of what's expected, how many sentences, how many lines. I'm not going to do that at all this evening, but I want to refer to these roles over here and kind of talk through this a little bit, not too much, and do that in relation to the actual POE task. I thought that's one way of like maybe tying them all together. Um, so as I said, I did touch on this last week. This is not like highly theoretical or difficult to understand, like what these things mean, like what is a learning mediator, what is an interpreter and designer of learning programs, and it's all fleshed out in the next bullet points over here. So learning mediator kind of speaks to, do you have sound subject knowledge? So as we speak through this, my thinking was, look, in the POE, just as a way of funneling your thoughts, I'm using the POE question. So in the POE question, one of them says, so a few things. So I'll go into the other questions as we go. These over here. So it says, create the personal manifest which you outline your objectives in fulfilling the various roles of a teacher as described. So it's saying, I think ultimately it says you must choose like 3 for the mark allocation of 6. So it's kind of saying the way I interpret it is which 3 of these, might be a better way of putting it. Which 3 of these kind of stand out to you the most? What are the most important? I mean, all of them are important. I think that is the answer. But for the purposes of you writing something, like which 3 stand out for you the most? Like, what do you see as the most important role as a teacher. Surely they're all interrelated, but we are also all like humans and individuals. So I actually had put just a few questions, just two questions, which I thought hopefully will lead to like a bit of a conversation. So not these are my questions. I'll get to mine now. So it says in this is like in relation to you creating your own teaching philosophy, which is from the POE question I showed you now. So it's kind of saying, so how do you measure up in the teaching competencies? So in these competencies over here, so how do you measure up? If I said rank these in order of, and this is a personal thing, it's not a judgment thing, it's not a question of right or wrong. I mean, my personal belief is that no one is good at being a teacher until they're at least kind of 5 to 10 years in. Until then, you're just like beginning. Your first year is a complete write-off. You don't know what you're doing unless you've been in a school, from what it sounds like you're in or whatever. So like you've been in schools. Um, but let's just say generally and broadly speaking, for me, your first 2 years are like a write-off. Like you're just figuring things out. You can't be good at all of these things yet. But so if you had to look at these, so in light of this question over here, so how do you kind of measure up against these? So if you to rank yourself, so what would you be good at? Are you a good learning mediator? Are you a good designer of learning programs? Are you a good leader, administrator, scholar, researcher, community citizen, pastor role? Is assessments your thing? Um, you're just good at your learning area. So on a pause, and it's not a quiz, you don't have to put anything in the chat. Um, but just kind of like a reflection to yourself. I mean, that's what this whole session is supposed to be about. This whole theme is reflecting on your own current and future levels of mastery. So this isn't something when I hear that, like whenever I see reflection, I like it because I'm a big believer in reflection. Um, I think it's the most like important tool in your teacher's handbag because when you get into the actual classroom, I know especially if you're a first year teacher, like they would give me all the grade eights. I used to teach EMS in business studies. And so I would have all the grade eight EMS or all the grade nine EMS, for example. Sometimes it was 6 classes in the big school when I was in a big government school, or maybe 2 classes in a smaller school. But so reflection is like how do you from one lesson to the next, like, okay, that worked, that didn't work. That was a good way of put the topic, or they completely bombed out on that topic. So for me, like reflection on bigger things and smaller things is really important because you only have, what's it, like 5 minutes in between the classes changing over to like think about it, reflect on that lesson, put it somewhere in your head, or write, make a note, and you have to move on to the next lesson. So for me, to me, this is always an important kind of topic. So as I was saying earlier on, so if you look at these roles in your head, like where do you rank yourselves? If you look at some of the descriptions, which I'll run through quickly, I won't read them all word for word. Do you have sound subject knowledge? Do you know how to teach the subject? And by this, I mean, do you know the different teaching styles? Do you know how to bring group work in? Do you know when to use lecture style? Are you going to stand in front of the class all year and just lecture to them? Are you more interested in knowing your learners and how they learn? So like by my third year of teaching, I don't know where this came from, this thing about learning styles. I don't know if I did it at a course or something. And then I started introducing something in my first lesson of every year, a little quiz thing. I got it off online and printed like this little 10 question questionnaire. And each student had to fill it in, and it would give me an indication of their learning styles. So I just got something off the internet. It wasn't 100%, the best of the best test. But then I could get kind of gauge how many people in my class were visual learners, how many of them were more auditory learners who needed to move around. So just as an example of kind of knowing your learners. So where do you put more effort? So would you put effort into creating a little quiz like that? Or are you more interested in understanding different teaching styles and going online and seeing how you can teach this topic differently? Are you effective communicator? Um, it says must have highly developed literacy, numeracy, and IT skills. Hmm. Some do, some don't. Do you understand the curriculum and how it must be unpacked? So you're good at stuff like spacing out assessments, to cover the right content. Where do you stand on diversity issues in your classroom? All boys school, all girl. I went to all boys school last week actually, for this teaching supervision. Quite interesting. I mean, I've been to them before. My son went to an all boys school for a while. So also interesting to see the dynamic, you know. So like for example, in that situation, the diversity was not only race, class, gender, etc. But abilities or so everyone in the school seemed to be super excited about answering questions. And I realized, oh, it's a boys' school. So it's actually they're all putting their hand up because it's highly competitive. So how do you manage that space? So obviously everyone with their hands up all the time, me, choose me, ma'am, choose me, ma'am, choose me. And the teacher ended up, she kept choosing the people whose hands are up. And eventually I asked at the end, what about those kids who didn't put their hand up? So did you check in with them? Not saying you must ask them and put them on the spot and embarrass them, but how do you bring those ones into the conversation? So that for me are kind of the issues of diversity in your classroom, not just the broader ones, but the smaller ones. Okay, so I won't read through all of them. So that was my question to you, and for you to really think through, and that will come out in the assignment. So it's I'm trying to like link them all together. Um, I actually went and did for the sake of this session, I thought I actually took this question from the POE and I went and put it into chat myself. So I thought I can get ahead of anyone trying to kind of chat the answers. And quite interesting, like what it spat out. And you'll see, so all of these things align to the different parts of your assignment, of the question, actually, of that one question. But this was quite interesting. Um, I won't read it all to you now, but all sounds very robotic, like I guess like AI would. And so I guess for me, an important question here is hearing your voice in this conversation. So what stands out to you? And by that, I mean, so I'm trying to put it down to simple, I guess, questions like this for for conversation and for you to think about. Um, so now when I say stuff like great relationship with your students versus proficient at admin, I'm I'm reflecting back on some of these. So those who know their learners, or those who are knowledgeable about the curriculum. And I'm saying this very specifically. So I'm gonna pause there and just let you like just think about the answer for yourself. It's not right, it's not wrong, it's just yours. So what matters? What matters to you? Um, let's assume that you can't have everything as an assumption. So is it having a good relationship with your students? So it's a fun and it's a warm classroom. They come to you with issues. You understand each one like back of your hand. Or is it more important to be good at the administrative stuff? Are your marks in on time? Are you good at kind of communicating with parents when students are struggling? Or Johnny didn't bring his book for the third time. Or do you rather go and cuddle Johnny and make Johnny feel good about not bringing the book? Or you're communicating it to the parents, to the grade head, and saying, oops, Johnny's a red flag. Um, Come, let me ask just for fun. There's only three. I'm almost done. We won't be here for long. Maybe let's say I make you vote on these two. You can just say one or two as your options. You need to type a lot. So one being great relationship with your student, or two proficient at administration. Which one matters most to you? Oh, because that was faster. That was a quick one. That's Vinay. Student, come on. What's more important to you?
Everything is important. You cannot have one, I
Mm-mm,
think.
mm-mm. You must choose one. No, no, no. I'm
Okay,
making you choose
I,
one.
I,
It's like
I'll
life or
choose.
death here.
Okay, I'll choose the great relationship with my students.
Student, you can't choose both. Okay, I hear you. Mm. And this comes from like I chose this example on purpose. I remember one of my schools because that was always my thing, like to be like have a good relationship with my students, like fun class. We got the work done, great marks, or we got work done, but we had it in a different way. Um, and I remember there was some like awards or something for like whatever, like the teacher of the year chosen by the students, that kind of nonsense. And I think I got it that year. It was only like my first or second year at that school. And so I take it with a pinch of salt. It's not like a flattery thing. Because, and I'll tell you why I don't feel like it's a flattery or an ego thing. So cool, I was really good at that, and kids loved my class, and it was always fun, and I really worked hard at that. And then I remember someone said, like in the staff room, I don't know if it was like under their breath or loud enough so I could hear intentionally, like an older teacher who no one loved this class. He was quite, boring and been at it for a while. And like had one of those like fun surnames, like just made him sound like an old man, like Mr. Grootboom or something like that. Just like, and he was a lovely guy. And he said, yeah, but I mean, these kids can't vote on what they think is cool, you know. They don't know about their marks being in for reports, which goes to the parents. And I think it was like he was making a little dig at me because my marks were never like ready or in on time. Um, my registers were always late for attendance. They had to go in the morning, and I was only sending them halfway through the day. What else was I bad at administratively? I think you name it, and I kind of sucked at it. So I want to say like from an ethical point of view, maybe I should have been 50% less fun teacher and 50% better admin person. Because the result is it like weighed the whole team down. It weighed the school down. I think one year I was not I made all the reports late, like printing of reports, but I was one of the contributors to like late reports. So, so you let the whole system down because you want to be a fun teacher. So point number one. And I'm saying now you can't be both. Hasvini, I know what you're saying. Well, you have to manage both. I know, I know, I know. Perfect world. Um, but so in your competence, when you answer this question, the POE, like what stands out to you more? Like building relationship with students, being better at administration. And this is just, I guess, let me give you one example. And then I'll think I'm just about gonna wrap it up. Um, I know it sounds similar to the other one. I said relationship with your students, but this is about kind of knowing the students, spending time with them, not just the relationship. So yeah, I mean, um, conversations with parents, after school, and so yeah, this is like it's more of I want to say like a time question, like a logistical thing. Do you have time to spend all that time? Can you make time in your day? You teach from 8 to 2, 2:30. You have extra meals until office 5. You have marking to do. Maybe you have a family to look after. So your day is gone. And in between that day, you choose to spend more time on figuring out what's going on with Kristen, what's going on with Duran. Um, but in all of that, like you didn't spend enough time prepping for class the next day. And I mean, that's not a once off. And I'm speaking just from personal experience here. That doesn't become a once off, it becomes a common thing. So you get home and suddenly you've got to answer emails about those 3 students in your class that you really care about, that you know are struggling, and you spend an hour and a half on those emails and you don't prep for the rest of the class the next day. So, you know, where was your priority? What's more important to you? So Okay, for I mean, sake of time, I just want you to think about this. I don't want to go into tons and tons of detail. But the reason why I thought it's important to just talk and think through this for you is that that's where we are now, is for you to just understand like your idea of teacher competencies and where you stand, and that you won't be able to be the master of all of them. We're gonna get into the other stuff as we go through. So there's more like fun stuff coming, the Bill of Rights, SACE, etc. But I think it's important for you first to understand where you are at. These things will change as you are in the classroom. But I think it's important to have an idea of self before you go into the class. Okay, so I don't know if I made the point I was trying to make. Did I make it? Are you with me? Are you good?
Yes.
Yes, ish. Okay. Yes, ish. Okay, so for the like POE, like I said, there will be a more detailed recording available closer to the time. All I'm trying to do, because we won't swing back to this again, is for this one question. It is all about the roles and competencies of teachers. There's this whole case study. I'm not going to talk through this. And so I just wanted you to be able to relate what we're doing in terms of the content to this question for when you do get there. Okay, I'm happy. Okay, everybody. Um, way forward. I don't see you next week. I see the week after. Um, there are some videos available. Um, but then I see you again on the 3rd. It says work on assessment task 2, so we'll go through that. And then I think the submission was only, where was submission? 23rd of October, so still a way to go before there's anything to submit. Okay, so we have a bunch of time still. Okay, everybody. I'll put some stuff up again for you next week, and then I will see you the week thereafter. Please shout if there are any questions or queries, something you missed. And if I don't get back to you immediately, like within 24 to 48 hours, don't feel bad and don't get angry. Just like send the email again and say, hey, I'm waiting for a response on this. Or hey, I know, Asveni, I think you asked me a question. It took me a day or two to get back to you. So if I've missed an email, just please just resend and just say, hey, following up on this. Okay. Okay, everybody. Thank you for your time. Thanks for pitching up. And we'll chat to you soon.
Thank you. Perfect. Enjoy your evening.
Cool. You too. You too. Bye, everybody. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Thanks, Kristen.